Welcome to Giant Cocktails, a podcast where two lifelong fans talk about the San Francisco Giants while drinking homemade cocktails. Now, here are your hosts, Ben and Matthew Henry.
Welcome back.
You okay?
Well, what?
Are you okay?
No, I just had something stuck in my throat. Did you hear that? It was like back.
For like
back.
three full seasons.
What? Really?
Really?
Three full seasons?
Yes.
I've been doing that for 3 full seasons?
3 full seasons.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
All right, start over again. Let's just start
Okay.
over.
All right. Yeah. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Welcome back to another episode of Giant Cocktails. I am your host, Ben Henry, alongside my brother, the Burke, Matthew Henry. How you doing, Matthew?
Is this a birthday joke? Is that what
A birthday joke? An April birthday joke?
Yes. Where's your typical opening? Where is it?
Well, so
you're trying to tell me that you didn't know for 3 years that you were first of all, welcome back, like okay, really high, and then the episode was like 3 syllables long. Like, I mean, you're not telling me, you're telling me now that was all like you didn't even know.
Okay, so here's what happened. When we recorded our very first episode, I said welcome back, which was impossible. And you made fun of me about it. And then so I thought, okay, I'm just going to really just grind that in the next episode. And then that's what I did. I said it in that horrible, awful way. And then you know, it's just, that was the way we did it. And I don't know where episode came in, but I'm not doing that either anymore. Like, there's only one O in that word. And I'm just going to say episode. I might not even say episode. I just might be like this. I might just be like, welcome back to another episode. Oh, I did say episode. Or I could just say, welcome back to Giant Cocktails. I am your host, Ben Henry. Do you see how sexy and silky that is?
That is. I didn't know you had it in you.
That's what we should have been doing all along.
Who knew?
But anyway, so yes, happy almost, well, I guess when the podcast goes out, it is going to be Burke's Day.
It is.
And, you know, Matthew, I like you, but there have definitely been times where I've thought of you as a Burke.
Fair.
Or a dingbat. Or a dipstick. Or a ding-dong. Or a nincompoop. Or a half-wit. Or a ding-a-ling. Or a dunce. Or a blockhead. Or a knucklehead.
Okay.
Sorry, I got carried away. The thesaurus is fun. Thesaurus
is fun. It is. I'm actually, you gave me a link, and there's lots of fun words that denote a fool. Likewise, Ben, I mean, as you know, you've been my brother forever, and you've always been a ninny hammer.
Right. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. You may have also heard at the beginning of the show, we've got new music. We are kicking off season 4 today. We didn't have it in time for our first episode of the season, which was the first midweek review, which was on Thursday. So today is kind of like our first true episode of season 4. And we are 4 days into the baseball season. And there's a lot to talk about. I mean, man, it's like there was a lot of good stuff and a lot of bad stuff. But before we get into all of that, Matthew, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Which holiday tradition do you hate the most between these two? St. Patrick's Day pinches or April Fool's jokes?
Oh, I think I got to go with the pinches. I don't like getting them, and frankly, I don't really like giving them. I think it's odd to pinch somebody. I mean, you know, and plus, you don't want to hurt somebody. I'm a nice guy. I don't want to hurt somebody. Yeah, but I love me a good joke. Love me a good joke. And,
right.
You know, the YMCA that I work for, we've in the years past done ads on April Fool's Day that were like, we did one where we were introducing cat fitness program, a feline fitness program for your fat cat. We did another one where we did teach your doggy to swim. And it was a dog with goggles on it on him, and yeah. So I love the joke part of April Fools. So give me April Fools jokes all day long.
I disagree. I'd rather be pinched than hugged, quite frankly. So pinches are not so bad. I don't like giving them for sure. Just don't care. I don't really like either of these holidays, quite frankly. I really don't like April Fool's Day because I hate being the butt of jokes. Like, I'm one of those guys. I mean, I'm sure that's shocking to all our listeners. Like, what? Ben doesn't like to be the butt of a joke? No, I like to be the person making the joke. I don't like being the butt of the joke unless I'm making the joke, in which case I'll do that all day long. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, today is Sunday, March 31st, as we record this podcast. Happy belated Easter Sunday to those who celebrate. Happy belated day 4 of the baseball season for all of us. Woo-hoo! Because I know we all celebrate.
I'm a devout baseball fan.
Yeah. I mean, you don't sit in your closet every Sunday now, twice a week.
Serious.
To talk about baseball if you don't love baseball. The San Francisco Giants went 2-2 in their opening weekend against the San Diego Padres, dropping the home opener. Dropping the opener. It was the Padres' home opener, and who cares about those guys? And then playing 2 very, very nice games before today happened. And I would rather not think about today, quite frankly. Today wasn't an outright disaster. It was one of the worst baseball games I've seen in, a long time. It had the same kind of aftertaste as the opening day gut punch did in 2021.
Yeah.
And it was an utter disaster. But nonetheless, the Giants are 2-2. It's not the 3-1 I wanted, but it could have been worse, I suppose, right? They could have been 1-3. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk mostly today about things that we liked about opening weekend, and things that we didn't like about opening weekend. And we're definitely going to preview the Dodger series coming up. It might be a short preview. It might be a long preview. It depends on how angry and ranty I get.
Yes, and on that note, we had some people asking about, is this still the month of positivity for Ben? And the answer is no. That ended on opening day, right? I'm assuming that's
right.
Now it's reality, no longer just positivity.
Right. I was positive during spring training because that's what spring training is about, right? Like, even Pittsburgh Pirates fans can believe they have a chance in spring training, right? Well, no, Rocky fans.
No, Rocky fans.
We can only take things so far. Spring training can only do so much. The month of positivity ended on opening day, folks. Like that's over. Right now it's reality. So if the Giants are playing well, and the players are playing well, and I believe that they're doing well, then I'm going to be happy and positive about it. If they stink, then I'm not going to be happy and positive about it. And so today's a little bit of a mixed bag. Yeah, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. But anyway, we should probably get to our trivia question. Matthew.
All right. Well, the trivia question for today happens to be about opening day, specifically opening day at Petco Park. So the Giants dropped their opening game against the Padres on, what was it, Friday? No. Thursday. So that got me thinking. So today's question is, how many opening days have the Giants won at Petco Park?
Well, Bob, what do the Padres do?
The Padres are gonna Padre.
Exactly. I don't know how many times the Giants have played opening day there, but they probably won every time except on Thursday.
I would agree. That's probably a good guess. Yeah.
It's like five times.
Okay.
At Petco.
We will find out how right or wrong Ben is at the end of the episode.
All right. Cool.
Isn't it time for the booze, boys? What are you drinking, Ben?
You know, Bob, I'm drinking a Negroni, okay? I'm drinking the Negroni. This is the stupid Negroni that I made that stupid bet like 6 million years ago. Okay?
Right.
And I thought, oh, I'm not going to have to drink any Negronis. And then boom, they signed Matt Chapman. And I thought, okay, okay, fine. I'll drink a Negroni. And I really honestly thought it was going to be just one Negroni. And so like a big fat idiot, I then made another bet for another Negroni. And, well, everything has now paid itself off. Like, we know what the final count of Negronis is. And the good news for me is that Joey Bart did not get traded before opening day. Instead, he made it to the 26-man roster. Shocking, because they had lots of big plans for Joey. They really did. They really wanted that third catcher. That's just a it was a little teaser about what I might be ranting about later on in the show. But anyway, I had to drink Negronis, and so that's what I'm drinking today. I'm drinking a Negroni, Bob. And because of the Blake Snell situation. And I already proved to Matthew that it is a valid Negroni. And so what's in a valid Negroni? Well, it's a perfect cocktail, which means it has the same amount of all the ingredients, which are London Dry Gin, Campari, and Sweet Vermouth. I did an ounce of each of those. I then combined those in a mixing glass with ice. I stirred that until it was just chilled. And then I strained that into a rocks glass with a single large chunk of ice. It's actually a clear sphere. And then I squeezed an orange twist over that, or twisted an orange twist over that, and then chucked it in the glass. And now I'm drinking it. And that's what I'm drinking, Bob.
I'm not gonna lie. That cocktail sucked.
What? What?
Bob's vocabulary is increasing.
I didn't know you could say that, Bob. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yes, I totally agree.
All right.
What are you drinking, Matthew?
Well, Bob, I am drinking a very simple cocktail that is one of my go-tos when I just want to make something quick and easy. I'm drinking something called the Bennet. And the Bennet has 2 ounces of gin, 1 ounce of lime juice, a ½ ounce of simple syrup, and 1 dash of Angostura bitters. You add all those ingredients into a cocktail shaker with ice, give it a good shake for 10 to 12 seconds, double strain it into a coupe glass, and garnish it with a lime wheel. I chose a dehydrated lime wheel for my drink. And what you get is basically a gimlet with a little bit of kick to it. It's a very similar cocktail to the classic gimlet with the gin, lime juice, and simple syrup, but the Angostura bitters gives it a really nice little flavor transformation. So the gin is very floral. The lime juice adds some tartness. The simple syrup cuts that just a little bit, but it's still a very tart cocktail. And then that Angostura bitters gives it a nice rounded out flavor that is really tasty. So that's what I'm drinking today, Bob. The Bennet.
That's a tasty cocktail.
It is, Bob. I'm really enjoying it. And I'm enjoying it especially because it's not a Negroni.
Wow. It's almost like one of us has a positive cocktail that they very much enjoy, and one of us has a negative cocktail, which they very much don't enjoy. Kind of like opening weekend for the San Francisco Giants. There was a lot of good stuff. There was a lot of Bennet cocktail stuff.
There was.
And there was also a lot of Negroni stuff.
That too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, yeah. So, I don't know how to segue this. That was my segue.
Bob, what should we do here?
Come on, boys. Let's hear a little optimism.
Oh, whoa. Wow, Bob.
All right. Yes.
Getting feisty.
Bob knows us, right?
Season.
Bob knows that we sometimes need a little nudge in that direction. But fear not, because there were a lot of positive things to talk about. And,
That's right.
And so I think that there were, we could do the whole show on positivity, Ben. We could just talk about all the positive things that happened.
We could if negative things didn't cost us 2 games.
All right.
I
Well,
mean-
let's start with the positives, though. First of all, you can't talk about anything else at first besides Jung-Hoo Lee. And Jung-Hoo Lee has become must-watch baseball. Every time he was up, I wanted to make sure I was in front of the TV watching him hit. Oh man, I mean, just really good at controlling the strike zone. He had his first at bat. He struck out looking, which made you a little nervous that maybe he was a little overwhelmed.
He looked overmatched and completely fooled and dumbfounded. Like that was not a good at bat. He looked lost.
It took him all of one at bat to make the adjustment, though.
Fair.
Fair.
But
I am perfectly happy with the way that Jung-Hoo Lee has looked so far, including got his 1 home run. He got a home run, which, didn't know that he had that kind of power.
I mean, he blasted that thing, too.
He did.
Like, it was a no-doubter.
It was.
And, I mean, that was like the one thing that he wasn't supposed to be able to do, right? Like, that was like one of the things that, it's very interesting, right? Like, the first thing they told us is that he never strikes out. First thing he does in his first at-bat is he strikes out. The other thing is he's supposed to be a really smart player, and hopefully they hope that he can become a threat on the base paths. He gets picked off right after his first base hit. And so, it was kind of like you're like, oh, watching this guy kind of like learn the game, but he did it at like hyper speed, right? Like this whole season, like he's going to have to learn the game and make adjustments. And I'm like, well, like 2 games in, adjustments made.
Right.
Right? Like I was kind of stunned today that he didn't get a hit, and I was really like expecting him. Like I just didn't have any doubt. Like when we needed him to hit a fly ball to drive a run in, it was just sort of like I knew that when there was a runner on third with less than 2 outs, he was going to get it done one way or another.
Exactly.
And he looks so much like the real deal, and he's just come out blazing. And I don't see how he's going to be overmatched at this point, right? I'm not saying he won't slump. I'm not saying like they won't find ways to force him to make adjustments, but this whole learning curve that everybody was worried about, I don't think that's there. Like he's ready.
Got comfortable really quick, and
Indeed.
that was great. You talked about Jung-Hoo getting off to a blazing start. You know who else got off to a blazing start? Yeah,
I do.
I'm going to let you say his name because you haven't been very kind to him so far this year.
What do you mean? Okay, you want me to say? You want me to say his name?
I do.
You want me to say Michael Conforto?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What?
It's Michael Conforto.
One more time. I didn't quite make
it. Was Michael Conforto? Okay, it was Michael Conforto.
That's right, Michael
okay?
Conforto.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I still don't like you. I mean, go get that bag, baby. Go get that bag. Yes.
Yes.
You go get that 3-year deal.
Use this season to go get that bag for sure. Because the alternative is him not getting the bag really kind of screws over the Giants. So I'm happy with the way he's worked out.
Does it screw over the Giants though? I mean, okay.
Yes, it does because you want good baseball players to make good baseball plays.
Right.
And he's been making them.
And if he wasn't a good baseball player, you would just get rid of him.
Would we,
and
though?
Put another player in his place.
Would we though? Would we?
No, we wouldn't because we're Farhan Zaidi and we don't understand what the term sunk cost means.
Right, we're trying to be optimistic. Optimistic.
Yeah, no, this is all irrelevant. This is all irrelevant so far because Michael Conforto is off to a blazing start. And I think that's really, really good, obviously, for the San Francisco Giants, but I think it's really, really good for him, too, because if you think about it, Matthew, this season is like make or break for his career. Like, if the guy bombs out, right? Like, if you go look and count the number of seasons it's been since he had a good season, it's 4. 4 seasons since he had a good year. If he had a bad year this year, I think his career is over. Or he's like getting non-roster invitations and things like that. If he has a great year, he could turn that into a multi-year contract. I mean, this is a huge year for him. And obviously, like, you know, the reason I don't like him and didn't want him to be on the roster is because I assumed he was just going to continue to be bad. Right? Like, I don't want to get rid of good players. Like, and if he's going to be great, then great. I'm super glad. But, you know, I don't regret anything that I have said up until now. Because I'm a stubborn.
Well, that's for sure.
guy.
Well, all right. And Michael Conforto batting 400 with a 471 on base, a 1.404 OPS. So he's playing well. He's 2 home runs, 2 doubles, 5 RBI. It's and he still makes me a little nervous out in the outfield. I think he had one play in the opening game where he wasn't quite aggressive enough, and but overall, I think if this is the Michael Conforto we see for the rest of the season, then it'll be a good year.
Right, and I don't think we'll care about his defense.
No,
because he's not horrible defensively. He's not good.
Right.
He might be slightly below average, but even if he is that, like, if he keeps putting up positive numbers at the plate, he's well going to outweigh that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Speaking of defense and offense combined, how about Matt Chapman? Huh? I mean, and I've actually seen lots of games in Petco because I used to live in San Diego for a while. I don't think I've ever seen a ball hit that hard off the Western Metal Supply building and that far up than I did with Matt Chapman the other day. That was a bomb, and it was fun to see him just turn on something like that because we didn't really see a lot of that in spring training, or that type of power anyway. And so it was great. And then you add his defense, which just seems like every game he does something where he just, it's a difficult play and he makes it look simple.
I mean, I can't, like, watching him play, even just the defense, like, I just can't believe how elite this guy is. Like, and then you add the 2 home runs. And, like, I can't remember exactly what he did every single game, but, because I think those two home runs just kind of, like, make you forget everything else. I mean, on the first home run, he nearly knocks down a lady. So first of all, props to her. I mean, like, she took one off the shoulder and she was like, that's one of the most, I mean, I don't know this lady's life. If that happened to me, it would have been one of the most exciting things that ever happened in my life.
My take on that was she was drinking her wine and wasn't watching the game and didn't know where the ball was. And so all she knew was that it was coming at her, and she just turns and takes it off the shoulder. And meanwhile, her friends were all scattering. So
everybody was diving out of the way.
And so I feel like, she took it like a champ for sure.
She did.
But I was like, watch the game, lady. You can just get out of the way like all your friends did.
I mean, agreed. But, at the same time, he almost knocks down a lady with his first home run. And then with that second home run, he almost knocks down a building. And, one is to straightaway center field and the other one was to outer space. I mean, it just was, he crushed those. And, I mean, like, I don't want to say that he's going to do this all season because this is kind of how his season last year started. Right?
That's true.
He started off on a super hot tear for a while, for like a month, and then cooled off tremendously. But I think the thing is that we know that, right? Like, we know that about him. And so if that's what ends up happening, it's like, it's fine. But it's nice to see this happening right at the very beginning because, you're like, this is legit. Like, he can hit bombs, and his defense is world. I mean, it's any third baseman's defense is world class, but he is the best of the best. And I mean, super excited to see him come out of the gate like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that was Matt Chapman's one. Then you look at Logan Webb,
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a lot of concern about his spring and how he was
I
going
wasn't
to
concerned
do.
at all.
I've got receipts, man. I've got texts from you.
What are you talking about? As my kid, my cat had my phone.
Okay, all right. But Logan Webb came out and was the Logan Webb that we expect to see. And boy, that makes you feel good, doesn't it? To know that the Logan Webb we know and love is there and back, and how that having that at the front of our rotation is everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think that just the competitive juice is just fired, you know, and I think that's, you know, it's really interesting because I think today on the game they were talking a lot about adrenaline and, you know, like maybe what Dalton Jeffries and Kai Wei Tang were feeling, who both made their season debuts, and Kai Wei Tang made his major league debut today. And they were talking about how adrenaline can be a bad thing, right? But you got to learn how to control it. And it feels like that's something that Logan Webb has done, right? It's sort of like get him into real games, and he knows how to use that as a positive and help him get better and compete more. And it's a ton of bricks off my shoulders, Matthew. After that 10-something ERA.
Well, it's funny you talk about butterflies and the nervousness and all that. I have a master's degree in sports psychology, so this is something that I actually know a few things about. And you are exactly right. How you perceive your physiological response is whether you is how you actually perform.
My psychotic what?
Well, your physiological response. So the butterflies in your stomach can be interpreted in two ways. They can be interpreted as a negative, where you're really nervous, or they can be interpreted as I'm really excited about this, and this means that I'm really excited and I'm amped and I want to just, I'm going to go out there and do what I need to do. And I think Logan falls into that category where, the nerves and obviously he's a veteran, so he can channel these things a little bit better than maybe a rookie. Because I think, you got to give anybody who's doing something new for the first time that's very meaningful, is going to have a hard time transitioning from one to the other. But over time, if you can start interpreting those butterflies as a positive, then your performance will be in line with that. So that's my tip to all you listeners out there. You're telling your kids when they're nervous or, they're taking a test or anything like that, that just means they care. That's how they need to interpret it, that they care about doing a good job and they just need to go out there and do it. They don't need to interpret it as anything negative.
I like to tell my kids, this is your one opportunity to not ruin your life. So don't suck.
Yeah, on those standardized tests that don't mean anything. Yeah.
Those. I just like to say that to my kid every day.
Like, have your kids eat a great breakfast and go to sleep and tell them not to be too worried. And I'm like, we don't really care. It's all on you. Yeah. Like, I just take that. The kid's going to take the test. That's it.
At first, I mean, the other thing about Logan Webb is that this is his third day being an opening day starter. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like he's been there, he's done that, he knows what that's like, which is way different than the situations that Dalton Jeffries and Kai Wei Tang found themselves in today, right? Ostensibly it's the exact same thing, right?
Yeah.
But experience and past success, and even just having done it before, right? Which is what experience is, makes all the difference. Yeah.
But someone who hasn't really done it before, but had a cup of coffee last year, Kyle Harrison.
Stop saying that he hasn't done it before. Okay, you know what I've never done before, Matthew? I've never pitched a game in Major League Baseball, and I've never dominated the Dodgers. Okay, Kyle Harrison before this season had already done both of those things.
Fair. All right, forget I said that. Nonetheless, Kyle Harrison rocked it.
He did
on Friday, and so
as the number 2 starter.
Exactly.
Shocking.
And it just, watching him pitch, I feel confident in it. But it's interesting because you could see why he has a history of wildness, right? Of walks, because there are times where that fastball, he doesn't know where it's going, and he just flings it off the mound and the ball sails, high and wide and. But then he dials it right back in and is able to kind of do what he needs to do. That slider and just, he looks really good. And
he's just no fear. He's like a Logan Webb up there.
Yeah,
no fear. He did learn some lessons, right? He got taken deep by some of the better hitters in baseball.
I think, and he said that after the game. Sometimes you're going to give up home runs to those good hitters. It is, and I think that's his mentality, right? Just I'm going to come at you with my stuff, and if you hit it, that's great. But if not, I'm going to get you out.
I agree, and hopefully, I don't know. I feel like maybe I got to go out there and ask all these other pundits, but at some point, Kyle Harrison will have done it, and everybody can stop talking about how he hasn't. And shouldn't be the number 2 starter, as if that was a thing that mattered. Like, the dude pitched on Friday instead of Saturday. Like, he's facing the same lineup.
Exactly. He doesn't care.
Like, I don't understand this. Like, oh, he's going to be the number 2 starter. That's a lot of pressure for a guy. I'm like, does it matter? Like, you should be terrified to face Machado and Tatis, no matter what day of the week it is.
Well, speaking of pitching on Saturday,
yes,
because then we had Jordan Hicks, reliever who wanted to be a starter. The Giants have given him that opportunity, and I think a lot of us, or a lot of the pundits especially, were very doubtful that Hicks was going to be
another one of those things that I just.
The funny thing is that, so, because as a reliever, you rely on your fastball, and he's got a slider, but he added a split-fingered fastball that he picked up from, or learned some of the nuances from, I should say, Kevin Gausman, who he was with teammates with. And so that was a huge, so he used that to great success on Saturday. And I was really impressed. Like, I mean, if that theoretically, he's the guy that's going to get bumped out of the rotation when Ray and Cobb come back. And I don't know if he pitches like that. How do you get rid of that?
I don't know, but also is that okay. There's a lot
Snell,
of questions.
Webb and Harrison. So, and then you've got Cobb, and then you've got Ray. So those are 5. I'm assuming that Hicks would be that guy.
You're saying Ray and Cobb come back. It seems to me like we're already missing 2 guys because Keaton Wynn can't pitch because he didn't pitch today. He's on the roster, but he couldn't have pitched today. And and they had to DFA Joey Bart to bring up Dalton Jeffries to pitch. It seems like they got plenty of room on the roster, Matthew, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Jordan, yeah. I think with Jordan Hicks, no, I agree. I do think if push comes to shove, he is going to be the guy that's pushed out, right? The only way I could see this working out is maybe him or Alex Cobb, but that's a July problem, August problem.
Yeah.
So,
somebody could be injured by then. You just these things tend to work themselves out.
They do, and Jordan. But anyway, until then, that split finger became a huge pitch in the game. And I think he silenced all doubters. It's just another one of those things of like, oh my gosh, this guy, he's only ever thrown as a closer in baseball. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's like the most high pressure position in baseball. And you're like, oh, he doesn't know what it's like to be a starter. I'm like, just everybody calm down. It doesn't matter what day of the week Kyle Harrison pitches. It doesn't matter that Jordan Hicks is pitching in the first inning as opposed to the 9th. What matters is, does he have the repertoire of pitches to be able to do that? And can he pitch deep? Can he pitch deep into a game and without getting fatigued? Those were really the only question marks.
Right.
And I think he's proven both of those are not a big deal.
Absolutely. And I think especially that the closer mentality and the experience there really came in handy, I think, during this game, where at one point he had the bases loaded and less than 2 outs, and he had to barrel down. And that's when he was hitting 100 miles an hour on the radar gun. And so, I feel like he's got that experience and the tools to really get himself out of trouble, which is, not something that we've seen in years past. Like when a DeSclafani, was in trouble, he was in trouble and he couldn't get himself out of that, and Hicks has the tools to be able to do that, which is really exciting to see.
Well, and that's one of the things I thought I've heard about Hicks, a lot from people observing from the outside, is that they're like, wow, his velocity seems like it's down, right? Because they're used to him throwing like 105.
Yeah.
Which, only one guy has ever done that. It's him, and he probably can't do that anymore because,
It was a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. But whatever. The point is he can still throw over 100. But he's like, well, yeah, because he's in one inning and he's throwing every single pitch as hard as he can because he knows that he's only going to throw 20, 25 pitches max.
Right.
If he throws 25 pitches, he lost the game.
Yeah.
And so that's why you throw as hard as you can. When you're a starter, you don't do that. But when you get into trouble or you're getting towards the end of the game or whatever, and you still have that in the gas tank, then you unleash it. And it's just like one of those tools that he has that other guys don't.
Yeah.
Certainly T-Bone, never had that. No.
All right. And so the last guy on our list is kind of I think he's a good transition from positive to negative because he had a couple of it. But I'm going to go with the positives for Patrick Bailey.
Okay.
Because he didn't have a very good spring hitting. He has you yourself said that he was not going to be a hitter and could, we've kind of joked that he could even lose his starting job to Murphy if Murphy continues to hit the way he has. But lo and behold, Patrick Bailey leads the team in batting average with a 444 batting average, 4 for 9 to start off the series. So I think that, and he's gotten on base more than half the times that he's been plate appearances, 545 on base. So I feel like Patrick Bailey could, if he hits this way, I mean, obviously he's not going to hit 444 for the year, but if he can show that he can get the key hits every now and then, I'm happy with it. I feel like that he's done very well to start off the season.
I agree. I didn't see a lot of power in that hitting, and but yes. Like I intimated, I did listen back to the show, and I think I intimated that he was going to hit 175.
I think so. Yeah.
And that was, that was hyperbole.
That was you being Ben. Yeah.
Yeah. This is what we call hyperbole. It's when we're making a statement that we know is extreme to make a point. But I think you're right. Like, yeah, all things good. Here's the problem, though, is that Patrick Bailey is supposed to be good at defense. And there was some things that happened. That Mr. Bailey did that weren't so great on the defensive side. He had a really weird pass ball today.
To the point where the announcers were thinking that the ball that he got mixed up, but it didn't really look like he got mixed up. He just missed the ball. Yeah, and then on the opening day game, which I don't blame opening day's loss on him, and we're going to get to whose fault it was. But part of that whole breakdown did involve Patrick Bailey trying to plant one in the dirt right in front of Nick Ahmed. Instead of throwing it to Nick Ahmed, he threw it into the dirt. And it was just a bad throw. And what concerns me is that I think that was like his first throw of the season. And he did not do well on those in September. He was great at those up until mid or August, and then they just started to really become a problem. His throwing was a concern, and it really was not exciting to me to see that be his first throw of the season. To look like it wasn't exciting to you. It wasn't exciting to Nick Ahmed, who looked like all of a sudden he's falling back, trying to keep that ball in front of him.
Yeah, he's trying to do his best hockey goalie impersonation, and I think it did. It bounced off his chest and then went straight out into left field. And, not a great look. All in all, I think it's early. Everybody's settling in, and I think Patrick Bailey needs to settle in. I think, some guys settled in right away. Logan Webb, Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, Jung-Hoo Lee needed 2 at-bats to settle in, but then he settled in, and especially Conforto and Chapman. But there were a lot of guys, Matthew, who were not ready for opening day. And
that's a good segue into our negatives. Ben, you are on the last few sips of your Negroni.
No, it's my last sip right here. I'm just going to finish this right now. And
then you're going to use that motivation to talk about the negatives?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, because we're going to get into the things that were nasty about opening weekend, just like this Negroni.
Okay.
One moment, please. So bad. Luckily, that was mostly water because I kind of let it wait because I was waiting until I cheated. But I was waiting to this point of the show to drink that last bit.
Still, even a diluted Negroni is terrible.
Negroni. Disgusting to the last drop. Anyway, what else was disgusting about
let's start with opening
weekend?
day.
Well, let's start with opening day. Right?
So Webb pitched well, gave him the lead.
Logan Webb's out there. He's dealing. He's doing everything great. He's looking awesome. And now it's time to go to the bullpen. It's time to bring in one of your 5 good relievers that you trust. And you decide to go with Luke Jackson. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't hate that call, right? I think that situation called for a right-hander, so it was probably going to be Walker or it was probably going to be Jackson. Maybe it was a little bit earlier in the game and you didn't want to use Walker, but there's other things that you probably had to consider, which I'm going to get into later, as to why you maybe went with Jackson. But I don't hate it. I don't hate the call to go to Jackson. He's a veteran. He's in your bullpen. You rely on him. You expect him to do well. You expect him to be ready. And he comes out and he just barfed up a bag of rubber ducks, Matthew, and I don't mean rubber ducks. He barfed them up, and then he slipped and he fell in them. And
I don't know why that's the analogy you got to use. I just
What? Okay. Do you think that's too strong? Is that what you think?
It's not
the man lost us
analogy.
opening day. The man lost us a game. He lost us a game against our division rival. He lost the reason the Giants lost on opening day is because of Luke Jackson. Yes, Patrick Bailey planted a ball in the dirt. Yes, Ryan Walker could have done a better job cleaning up the bag of rubber ducks. But he didn't. But none of that would have had to happen. None of that matters if Luke Jackson doesn't come out unprepared. And that's what he looked like, Matthew. He looked unprepared. And I don't want to go after one guy every single episode. Well, yeah, I probably do. I do. And today I'm going after Luke Jackson. He's the reason that we lost on opening day. And here's the thing. He goes through all of that, and then he says, my back hurts. And here's my question. Did your back hurt before you went into the game?
Yeah, I wondered that too. I wonder, was it stiff? Was it tight? Was he not able to get loose, but wanted the ball anyway? You kind of wonder those things because you know that any little thing to a pitcher can throw off their game. And
especially if it's an injury you've had before, which he's had.
Yeah. And he didn't, and from the very beginning, he didn't look good. I mean, he didn't get an out, Ben.
No, he did not. He didn't look good at all. He almost beeped there.
Oh,
He threw a hanger, right, on one of those, the guy that ripped the hit down the right field line. It was just an absolute hanger. And he just did not look ready. And then yeah. And so that's my question. Was he hurt before he went into the game? And if he was, then he shouldn't have done that. Right? That's just not a responsible way. And then I didn't even like his quotes after the game. Because he talked about how the team didn't win and the team made some mistakes. And no, dude, it was you. It was you. But, and now, if he was hurt before he came into the game, look what happened now. Now you can't pitch. You got to go on the IL.
So now we got Kai Tang.
That's right. But what really concerned me about the whole Luke Jackson thing, Matthew, was a trend that kind of continued over the whole weekend. And here's my question for you.
Okay.
Do we have a bullpen problem?
Yeah. I mean, I've been asking that question too. I possibly, I think, is the answer. But there's a few things that come to mind while giving you that answer. One is that there were a few instances throughout the weekend where one thing changes, one play, a defensive play, or something changes maybe the outcome of an inning. And so I'm not quite ready to say they have a bullpen problem, but I think they have a bullpen concern. And I definitely think that they've got all these options for their bullpen. And And so I think that's going to be the challenge that they're under, is to find the right fit for everyone in that bullpen. And yeah, you're missing a couple guys. So yeah, but at the same time, the guys that you got up there got to do the job, and they didn't. And so I think it's too early to say it's a problem, but I think they need to figure some things out for sure. Especially, people, especially that sixth, seventh inning, group.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think, you've got Tyler and Taylor Rogers and Camilo Duvall. Those aren't a concern. But everybody else, yeah, I think they're going to need to find who's fitting the best in those roles.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's a concern that could turn into a problem. I think things were exacerbated by some of the roster decisions that they made, but we're going to talk about that in a second. But I did want to touch upon a guy that we haven't talked much about, and honestly, we haven't really seen what we were told we would see since he was signed throughout the entirety of spring training and now into the season. And unfortunately, I think his non-performance has really hurt the Giants because he's surrounded by guys who are playing well, and he's really not. We've seen some flashes, but not much, and that is Jorge Soler, who has been hitting in the second spot and really looks kind of like an automatic out right now and a rally killer. Meanwhile, we've got Thairo Estrada, the guy we're used to seeing in that spot, hitting down in the 6 or 7 spot. And I really feel like that should be swapped. I think,
agreed. Yeah,
I think it's probable that Soler will find himself, but I don't really want him to find himself hitting in the 2 spot. I have been uncomfortable with that all weekend, and I really hope they make a quick adjustment there, because I feel like Melvin's the kind of guy who will be stubborn about it and leave him in the 2 spot through LA. And I'm worried about that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that one of the things about having Soler in the second spot that I think they like is that it alternates right, left, pretty much down until you get to the 7th or 8th part of the lineup.
Yeah, but one of those guys is an automatic out. Who cares?
Right. Agreed. And I think that if Soler's hitting well, then that's a great strategy. But folks, he's not hitting well, and he hasn't hit well at all in the spring or up until now. And so I don't see why putting him in such a key part of the lineup right now is the best solution. And it wouldn't surprise me going into Los Angeles if we see him in a different spot.
Yeah, and I would also maybe hope that we see, assuming Wilmer's okay, after the Padres let him just dive into their dugout and not try to save him at all, because they're all a-holes, apparently.
That was ridiculous.
Or maybe just bad human beings. I don't know what's wrong with the Padres.
Yeah, they all just watched the ball, and then they all dove out of the way and let Flores just fall into the dugout. I mean, I've never seen that happen. You always see the other team trying to help the guy, and this time there was not a guy around him.
Right. And what was really interesting to do? It was the coaching staff. It wasn't even players. It wasn't even guys. They can't even make the excuse of we don't want our guys to get hurt. Right? Who cares if the bench coach has a strained bicep? Nobody. Right?
Nobody.
And so yeah. I mean, but nonetheless, if Wilmer is okay, then I maybe might want to see him hitting there in the DH spot. Maybe give Soler a couple days off to find himself. Okay, there's one thing.
You know who could be a good DH option is Joey Bart.
Well, Matthew, I don't know if you know this, but Joey Bart was DFA'd today.
No.
Yeah, to make
Joey
room,
Bart, the number 2 pick in the draft,
to make room for Dalton Jeffries. Yeah, the guy that they never wanted to be on their 26-man roster, right? They never wanted him there, ever.
And yet they put him on there anyway, because they thought they would try and get a little bit of, Farhan was going to do his little magic where he was going to get Joey Bart through waivers and back into AAA.
Yeah. This whole thing upsets me so much. And I know we're getting close to the end of the show, but I need to rant.
Okay.
Because this thing was absolutely infuriating. The person who lost Sunday's game was Farhan Zaidi. Farhan Zaidi lost Sunday's game because He wanted to keep Joey Bart on the roster because he somehow wanted to sneak this guy who he's never liked enough to keep on the 26-man ever. He wanted him so bad to get off the 40-man but still be a Giant that he chose to leave him on the 26-man roster so that he could sneak him through waivers, which was never going to happen. Joey Bart is too good of a player to get through waivers. He is one of the 60 best catchers in the world. And I know Giants fans don't want to hear that and don't care, but you know what? Good catchers are good at catching and don't hit very well. Like, that's what a good catcher is. And so Joey Bart is one of the best. And so there's going to be multiple teams out there that want him. And yet here was Farhan Zaidi trying to sneak him through waivers. But what was the side effect of that? The side effect of that was that they were only going to carry 12 pitchers. They carried 14 position players and 12 pitchers, but really were only carrying 11 because Blake Snell was not available as a
Apparently
starter.
Keaton Winn wasn't available either, so...
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know why Keaton Winn didn't pitch today. I'm assuming they're going to have him pitch in the first game against Los Angeles, but if not, then they had two guys on their 26-man who were not available. So they had to have two other guys there as well. And so that meant their bullpen was tremendously short already. And they chose to do this BS with Joey Bart to make themselves even more shorthanded. So what happens? On Saturday, they need to use a lot of pitching. They, in fact, need to go to Doval in a non-save situation. Which means on Sunday, when they're having a 28-year-old never-will-be minor league retread start the game, which, by the way, they had planned on doing all along. They told him he was going to start today, on Sunday, before the season even started. So they knew they were going to have to make room for Dalton Jeffries. So what was the plan? Well, the plan had to have been to get rid of Joey Bart on Sunday, to do this whole thing of sneaking him through waivers, which is not going to work. They totally handicapped themselves. And then that's why Dalton Jeffries, when he gets into trouble today, they had to send him back out for a second inning so he could get hammered again. And then they have to bring poor Kaiwei Tang in to make his major league debut in that situation. And then when he stinks, they're like, sorry, kid, but you gotta go. And then they get to a situation where they have to put in their super sub as a position player pitching in the 8th inning to close out the game with Tyler Fitzgerald. And it just, all of that to try to sneak Joey Bart through waivers. Ridiculous. Stupid.
Well, let me ask you this. So even if they had done it before, they DFA him before, so they don't, now they're going to carry a full 13 pitchers. Do you think it would be someone different than Dalton Jeffries, or would Dalton Jeffries still have been the guy?
Well, they would have had
my issue. My issue is that why isn't it Carson Wisenhunt or Mason Black that we're trying to get onto the 40-man?
Agreed. I mean, that's a very good question, right? They've been talking about how they have all of these great young starters. These were supposed to be the kids that were going to be in the rotation before they got Snell, right?
Yeah. Can I tell you Dalton Jeffries' career stats going into today?
Going into today, yes.
2-8 record as a starter with a 5.75 ERA and a 1.349 WHIP. So I mean, not great.
Not good.
So and he's the only thing that he's got going for him is he was a first round pick by the Oakland Athletics in 2016. And maybe that coincided with when Farhan was there. It certainly did when Melvin was there. And so maybe there's this like, oh, we love this guy, but he hasn't shown it at all. And then yet you're talking about all these wonderful guys that you've got like Wisenhunt and Mason Black that are available as well. Meanwhile, today Carson Wisenhunt like just was lights out in AAA.
I mean, this was just, everything about this was just bad. It was just bad. It was bad roster management. And it's like, Farhan, can you just stop meddling? Just, you've done enough, right? You know, it's like my analogy, like on Thursday, I was talking about little Farhan running in his race. You know, now I found him like playing with rockets in the backyard and he broke Mrs. Smith's window. It's like, what are you doing, Just little Farhan, come on. Stop.
The image of little Farhan is going to be with us all season.
I mean, Bob, sure. You know what he is, Bob.
Farhan Zaidi, smartest man in the room.
Exactly. This is totally what this was. This was like overthinking, overdoing, just trying to be so smart. And it totally blew up in their faces. Like, I just, this kind of stuff is just so infuriating. Just do the normal thing. Put your best players on the roster and let them play baseball. Just, stop trying to just be so cute with all of these moves. Ugh. Infuriating.
All right. Okay, well, I think that wraps up the negatives, and we are getting close to the end here. Just real quick, looking forward to Los Angeles. Well, I know that the Diamondbacks were playing the Rockies, so that definitely maybe skews things a little bit. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's the Diamondbacks that win the National League West this year, and the Dodgers are the team.
You're stealing my prediction. You're stealing my prediction. Really? Yeah. I made that prediction in the last episode. I don't know if you heard that one, Matthew.
Oh, I wasn't listening. Sorry.
Remember, I said that the Dodgers were going to fade and the Diamondbacks were going to surge past them, and the Giants were going to finish in second place. I remember you were scared of the Diamondbacks, and I'm there with you. Right. I think that's because they looked really good this series, and the Dodgers are not going to win 100 games. I'm going to say that. I don't think that they're going to win 100 games this year. I've watched a little bit of the Dodgers this weekend. I did see Brandon Crawford get his first non-Giants hit. He scored a run. That was yesterday, a Saturday. And they do not have good defense, but that lineup can get them out of trouble. And it's just sort of like, they're gonna put a crooked number up on you once or twice a game. Easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's scary, but I do feel like their starting rotation not as strong as they think as they want it to be. Their defense is kind of garbage, and so I think there's a lot of holes in the Dodgers. I also noticed that one Yoshinobu Yamamoto, their number 2 starter, who should have therefore been starting game. I don't know how that goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Game 3. Right? Should have been starting game 3 against the Giants. They pushed him back a day.
Oh.
So he will not face the Giants. Already afraid to put Yamamoto up against the Giants. So, there you go. I mean, maybe after they saw how his sphincter locked up on his major league debut, they were like, he's probably not going to do well against the team that really wanted him. So let's have him play against somebody else. So there you go, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, coward.
All right. Well, I think it is time for the answer to today's trivia question.
Let's do it.
So as you may recall, the trivia question was, how many opening days have the Giants won at Petco Park? And we assume,
5.
because the Giants are so much better than the Padres perennially, that it's going to be a lot, like 5. The answer is 0. The Giants have never won an opening day game at Petco Park. They are 0-6 since Petco Park opened in 2004.
I mean,
so, I don't know. It was just it doesn't mean anything, but I thought it was interesting.
I'm not surprised. Even though the Padres, I don't know. This just feels like the Giants giant. Opening day is just not their thing. Like the Giants just don't do opening day. They just don't. Like, we're going to show up on day 2. And, I mean, this doesn't surprise me. All right. Well, let's see. What does that mean? Looking ahead, obviously we're facing the Dodgers for 3 games. We really don't know who's going to pitch when. I mean, probably it's definitely going to be Webb and Harrison, but is it going to be Keaton Wynn? Is it going to be Blake Snell?
Because he's on the 40 man. When is he going to start?
I know, right? He's on the 26 man.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Yeah, the 26 man. Yes.
Like he's there. He didn't start today. The only thing I can think of is they didn't want Dalton Jeffries
to go against the Dodgers.
To go against the Dodgers. Yeah. I mean, that can be the only thing that I can assume. And so they wanted Keaton Winn to do that. A guy with a little bit of experience. A guy who's done it before. Because he's pitched in the major leagues before, which is exactly what that means. He's done it before. Just in case anybody didn't know. And then we will have our Thursday baseball episode where we will talk about the Dodgers series.
So for all you who are listening that are so used to ignoring the Thursday episode because it was only cocktails, we are not doing cocktail episodes on this channel anymore. We will be doing baseball for both our Thursday and our Monday episodes. So make sure you come back on Monday and listen, or Thursday rather, and listen to our breakdown of the Dodgers series.
Exactly right.
All right, Ben, I think we need to wrap this up. Folks, if you haven't done so already, subscribe. I know we have a lot of new listeners, a lot of people who have found us recently as we get into the new season. So don't forget to subscribe so that you can hear us when we publish. Also, don't forget that we're now on YouTube, audio only, but YouTube, if you listen to your podcast through YouTube, you can find us there as well. So don't forget to subscribe, and you can hit the little alert button there and the bell, and it will tell you when we go live. So definitely look for us on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on the socials, the platform formerly known as Twitter and Instagram and Threads and even Mastodon at Giant Cocktails. You can find us, all of us there, where we put our recipes and have a little bit of fun on X when we are watching games. So definitely give us a follow there. Ben, it's been good chatting with you, and I will see you again in just a few short days. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, Matthew. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Giant Cocktails Podcast. Until next time, bottoms up.
Goodbye.
I hate opening day failures. Oh, man.
Oh, gut punches. Every one of them.
Bag of rubber ducks everywhere.
Oh, rubber ducks.
What?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. What?
Rubber ducks.